Good morning. It is filled to the brim and it is Friday, May 28th. I want to wish you a happy Memorial Weekend. Let's honor the fallen amongst us, the fallen soldiers and who paid for our freedom here in the U.S. I want to respect and honor that. Today I want to talk to you about increasing our faith. We've asked the Lord to increase our faith, but I want to talk about failures and our faith. Failures and our faith. So we do have failures. We're not perfect. We're in process. We're on a journey, and we do experience failures. And the Lord actually is so good that He uses our failures to actually build our faith, to remove self, to remove self-sufficiency, to remove pride, so that He can fill us more with Him and faith in Him. Yes, God uses our failures to build our faith. Yes, He does. You know, a great example of this is Peter. Now, Peter was one of Jesus's inner circle, very close to Jesus. And there is a story in Luke chapter 22 where Jesus and Peter have a conversation. And it is about Peter's faith. He says this, Luke 22:31, Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift all of you as wheat. But I have prayed for you, Simon, that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers. Interesting wording, because Jesus tells Simon, I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail, but He indicates that there is going to be a failure. And when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers. Verse 33, but he replied, Simon says, Lord, I am ready to go with you to prison and to death. Jesus answered, I tell you, Peter, before the rooster crows today, you will deny 3 times that you know me. So this is the situation. It's a very popular story. Jesus understands that Peter's faith is going to be tested, and He tells Peter, I have prayed for you. I have interceded for you that your faith will be strengthened. Now, what is perceived as a failure, actually the Lord is using to get rid of some of Peter's flesh, Peter's self-sufficiency, Peter's self-righteous pride. The situation of Peter denying Christ is actually going to be the benefit of Peter himself, as well as to be a vessel that the Lord can use. See, because Peter was depending a lot on himself. He was depending a lot on his own strategy. He had faith in himself, and that's indicated by how he talks to Jesus, his response to Jesus. But Jesus wants Peter's surrender. Jesus wants to use the failure that Peter will have in just a few moments later as a way to build his faith. And we find that Peter does the very thing that Jesus tells him he's going to do. He denies Christ. And Jesus looks at him and sees him from afar. And Peter, according to Luke chapter 22:62, and he went out and wept bitterly. Peter knew that he had failed. Now, Jesus is going to use this failure to build Peter's faith. Now we find out later, after Jesus has died, He has been buried, and He is resurrected. Now He's going to encounter His disciples again, and specifically, He's going to come face to face with Peter. And we find this story, this beautiful story of restoration of Peter to Jesus in John chapter 21, verse 7 and 8. This is what it says. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, it is the Lord. See, Jesus comes out, and he calls to them because Peter is fishing once again in his boat. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, it is the Lord. As soon as Simon Peter heard him say, it is the Lord, he wrapped his outer garment around him and jumped into the water. The other disciples followed in the boat. Before Jesus and Peter have even a conversation, you find Peter running towards Jesus. He's running towards his restoration. The last time he has come face to face with Jesus, or Jesus looks at him, is when Jesus turns from where he is and sees Peter as Peter is denying him. And now Jesus comes, calls out, and Peter runs towards his restoration. This shows that Peter's faith has not failed. Peter may have failed Jesus in the denial, but his faith has not failed because Peter no longer has that self-sufficiency. His pride is not keeping him hiding. He's not ashamed. He's running towards Jesus for that restoration. His love, his belief in Jesus is so present. And then they have a very significant conversation. John 21, verse 15. When they had finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" "Yes, Lord," he said, "you know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my lambs." Again, Jesus said, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" He answered, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." Jesus said, "Take care of my sheep." The third time he said to him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, "Do you love me?" He said, "Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my sheep. Very truly I tell you, when you were younger, you dressed yourself and went where you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands and someone else will dress you and lead you where you do not want to go." Jesus said this to indicate the kind of death by which Peter would glorify God. Then he said to him, "Follow me." Now let's connect this to Peter's failure, Peter's testing of his faith back at the time when Jesus is talking to him before he denies Christ. What does Jesus say that's going to happen when Peter's faith is tested? He says to him, "You're going to strengthen your brothers." So Peter goes through this failure of denying Christ, and yet Christ uses it to cleanse Peter, to get rid of some of the junk in Peter's life so that later he can call him to feed my sheep. I'm entrusting you with my sheep. I'm entrusting you to build the faith of believers around you. Why? Because your faith has been tested. You know what it is to fail, and you can turn around and be restored and believe me, believe my word, and be used by me. See, Peter's failure led to the destruction of his self-sufficiency and self-righteous pride, so that his faith in Jesus could be built. See, that's the significance. That's the significance of our failures. You know what? The Lord even uses our failures to remove our self-sufficiency and self-righteous pride. See, Peter was going to be foundational to the building of Jesus' church. And Jesus said, "You know what? Your faith is not going to fail. You may have failures, but I'm going to use those failures to change you so that your faith in me is even greater." You know what? Let the Lord use those failures in your life. And be like Peter, who even after his failure ran towards Jesus to be restored because he loved Jesus so much. You know what? Don't let the enemy use your failure to cause you to hide out, to cause you to run away, to cause you to sit in a corner and lick your wounds. You know what that is? That is victimization and self-righteous pride in a lot of ways. Let God use your failures to say, "Lord, I need you. I surrender to you. Build my faith in this situation." And he will. And he will. God bless you. I love you. Pray about this word.